Hey everybody, welcome to another video. I know, aren't you excited to just learn again? Isn't it just so fun to learn? Well, today I'm covering something in the way of overlays, specifically as it relates to, overlays in terms of a specific style of overlay that I've seen in the community. It's called MM2K posters. And MM2K was essentially someone called Music Man 2000, who on the Poster DB website, which is currently down, released a bunch of posters that were in a certain style, and then there became a community revolved around essentially copying that kind of style and standardizing it, whether through Google Drive Sync, and also allowing people to share that same kind of poster with either a border on it and finally like a textless poster that they can add like a custom font to, so all the movie posters have the exact freaking same font and the exact same outline. I don't know why that's a thing. It's not a style that I like in the slightest. And I don't understand why you'd want to standardize it to that extent where everything is very generic looking across the board. Personally, I don't really care for it. Though the one exception would be for TV shows. So that's what we're doing here, is I want to do something similar to that, where I want to keep for TV show overlays have 3 levels, okay? So there's 3 levels, and if I showed you guys the Plex page here, there's 3 levels essentially to referencing overlays. And so those are defined by something called builder level. We covered builder level, I believe, in the Plex Meta Manager video, but not to this extent. So I wanted to cover that. So whenever you're referencing in, let's say, your config, for example, for overlays specifically, and I'm trying to find an example of that, and I am having a terrible time trying to find an example of that here. Let's take a look. Builder level season. Here we go. So I found it right here. So this is in terms of the season overlays here. You can, they kind of mention, this is, let's see here, season overlays, and in season overlays they mentioned rating overlays, but also feel like right here where you can see PMM resolution, template variables, builder level season. And then for, let's say, one of them for versions, you have builder level episode. And so season is obviously for the season posters. So if we go up here for the boys, you can see season 1. And then there's, of course, if you don't specify a builder level at all, that assumes the topmost poster. So the very first poster you see, so the show poster, followed by the season poster, followed by the obviously episode poster or the episode overlay. So check out the overlays on the wiki just for further reading. But I'm going to focus on just right now the top level, the show poster, and kind of something that I'm working on. So I wanted to just do something very similar to that MM2K style, but without so much of a black bottom and all this sort of stuff. So they have a poster.psd that I'm using here. And as you could see, the key to every sort of overlay thing is you're trying to visualize. And that's the hardest part when you're thinking about overlays. You want to start with visualization. So here I have a poster, and currently, I just used a poster from the main library. And rather than utilizing this sort of draslib, and you can go here, draslib 08 user script, it's essentially an updated version from the sync poster process method that essentially allows people to utilize that MM2K Music Man 2000 style, as it says right here, and there's a big kind of environment with it, and if you're into that, cool. But I did end up grabbing, so if you go like how to create posters, I grabbed the poster PSD from here. I grabbed it from here, and then I loaded it up. So by default, it was like this going on. And actually, let me kind of change one of them. This is actually incorrect, but it was more like this. So as you can see, that by default, this is kind of what that poster template does. I did it kind of like this. I revealed more of the image because all I really want in mind is I still want posters with text on them, but I wanted to add a little bit of black. So I added a custom gradient, if you will, underneath at the bottom to just kind of give it that extra sort of little push past the border here. And the border color I changed. Now, you can utilize the Draslib script, and it utilizes something called, well, let's see, it utilizes something called border replacer, I believe. Yeah, MM2K border replacer. So this replaces the white with any border color. It's a script essentially that runs as part of this script package. But I mean, the way that I did it was I just made it a little more easy because I'm not really utilizing their environment. I just took the Photoshop and I just put it as all black. So right here is the border layer, and I just changed it from white to black, and so it's defined with a stroke effect. And so once that's done, all I did was I went ahead and added it into the Plex Meta Manager configuration file. And so we created a TV overlay.yml. This is my overlays just for the TV section. And I literally just put a mapping name of poster overlay, followed by Plex all true as the builder. So it's using Plex all, which is a dummy builder. And true means just apply this overlay to everything that it's called under. So if I was to call this TV overlay sort of YML underneath the TV shows library, it will apply to all the titles. If I did it with movies, same thing. So, and we're going to take a look at the config file. So before we do that though, I wanted to show you guys, this is the TV overlay, poster overlay. I went ahead and added it to the config location as the local. So if you just put poster overlay, it looks for something with that name.png and the config/overlays file. So I went ahead and exported this as a transparent. Okay. And once this was exported, I created the overlays condition to apply that overlay. And then lastly, in the configuration file, we simply refer to it. So this is how we refer to it. And I went ahead and added a PMM status. And the PMM status is just going to put a status there because that's what I planned for. In fact, if I show you in the original sort of thing that I was doing, you could see right there, I kind of put it there. Right there, see? So I have PMM status and I have file TV overlay. I hit save. And now I'm going to run this bad boy here. And let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. Pay close attention. Do you guys remember that whole example about the order in which the overlays are listed from the Plex Meta Manager video? How the ones at the bottom push up to the front, right? Kind of like Photoshop layers. So in this example, we see that it applied the overlay, but where's my text? So at first look, I thought something wasn't working, and I completely escaped my notice that, of course, that order of overlays doesn't just even matter for within these like overlay definition files, but it also matters in the way that a user or an end user stack them. So that's also crucial. That's something that I think end users should know, but also people making overlays, like overlay files and stuff like that should know. They should also give directions of, hey, don't put something before something. So in this case, if you look, yeah, if I kind of blow this page up here, you can kind of see a remnant of, of text behind that black, but it's being covered. And so it's being covered because in this config file, I put PMM status kind of behind the TV overlay call. So I'm going to switch these two overlays. I'm going to do like this. Oh, make sure to delete the leading spaces so the formatting is retained. Hit save, run this again, and let's take a look at what happens. So now the text should be in the front because it's at the bottom. So we're just going to wait for that to take effect here. Might have to actually change over the library. Oh. Huh. That's weird. It's really weird. What the heck? So also remember one key thing. This is not like collections, okay? It's just not like that. So we have to realize that it's interesting. Even though I moved the overlays around, it did not create a different overlay because Plex Meta Manager is seeing, well, nothing changed. You didn't really remove any overlay. So why would I create an overlay? You didn't add or you didn't remove. So it thinks it's the same image. So even though I changed the order, it didn't work. So first things we need to do is go remove overlays to true. But this is just one of the options. You can remove the overlays first and then rerun it with remove overlays false. So then it will reapply the overlay. Alternatively, instead of doing remove overlays true and then running the script, you can also just do reapply overlays true. But if you forget to turn this off, it's a little dangerous. Well, it's not so dangerous anymore with the EXIF data that Plex Meta Manager added. But at the end of the day, it can add to bloat given what you change and if you change often. So it's one of those things that, just be sure that when you do reapply overlays true, you make sure to set it to false. I have forgotten myself a few times and it's kind of crappy. Nothing that Plex Image Cleanup can't clean up, of course. So we're going to hit that again. We're going to let that crunch out. Crunch, crunch. And hopefully now it'll create a new image where, there we go. You see that? The text is now in the front. Oh, and one negative. There is a negative to this process. The negative being that because you're just applying an overlay on top of your existing poster, you do lose some of the poster. So for example, here on this Photoshop, right? If we see that I believe when it runs through the scripts, what happens is the scripts shrink the poster down like this, right? It shrinks the poster down and it will adjust. So if a poster is 1000 by 1500, ImageMagick adds the image, whatever the border width you use, let's say 5 or 10 total pixels to the width. So if your width and height is 1000 by 1500, right? Let's take a look. 1000 by 1500. Then that means your new width would be 1010, right? By 1510. And then what it does is it will then shrink it down. So whereas with an overlay, you are losing part of the image. The image doesn't shrink. So let's say, for example, for this poster right here, let's say if it was like this, kind of like this across. Let's kind of adjust it here. So it would kind of be a little bit like this. So you would lose, you see how the killing font is just kind of, the font is a little, I mean, you guys can, hold on, let me lock this layer. You guys can kind of see how the font is being lost. You see on both edges. So that's the only negative with this quick and easy way to do it. But again, the huge benefit with this way, in my opinion, is you don't have to reference essentially any sort of G drive. You don't have to rely on anything like that. You don't have to rely on another additional script that has to run and then apply the image, right, through Image Magic. Then you're figuring out kind of how to run that on a schedule, kind of like grab all posters, but except it spits out an image that becomes literally part of the assets. So the assets directory means, so it adds the border onto the assets. So all of a sudden you don't really have poster assets. You kind of have assets with the border in them. And the other negative being is with essentially with, I believe, with these sort of scripts is, you know, you can't just, there is a way to manually pick your poster, sure, but this is more for like the G drive thing. See how they're saying want to create your own, you know, so this is like an ecosystem. But there is another program here called Poster Process Maker, which is great, and it kind of, I'm not slamming it or anything. It works. It'll automatically add border text if you want to add some text to it. It'll even add like a predefined overlay file. It can do all this stuff and spit out an image file. The only issue for me in this whole thing would be that you can't really pick which images you get. So if you look at right here, you can kind of see what it's doing in terms of, look at this. So poster process for 12 Mighty Orphans, poster URL, found a textless poster. Well, okay, that's fine and all, but what if you want to use a specific poster? Well, it says right here, manual mode. Follow the prompts to enter the source picture path, media folder name, and movie show title to manually create a poster. So you're doing it one by one. Personally, I find it's a little limiting. It kind of, you know, at that point, I'd rather just use this Photoshop thing and then just kind of use Photoshop to just quickly scale it down how I want the image file, right? Like this. It's kind of like that. And then what I could do theoretically is, in order to account for that, I could just take away all of this stuff, and then I could literally save this out as the poster.png. So if I saved it exactly like this, kind of shrunken, it would look weird in the assets directory, but I would accomplish the same thing as, you know, what that script without being tied to, you know, using those scripts. But again, that's the only negative limitation I could say with it. So here you can see I kind of shrunk down King of the Hill, and in the library King of the Hill, you can kind of see it's really getting squeezed out in terms of the logo. Shrunk it down, and I saved it out into TV shows PMM. I'm gonna run this remove overlays, and you're gonna kind of see what happens here with that. So let me kind of bring it to the center. So it's going to remove all the overlays first, because I have that set to true, and it should restore that updated image for King of the Hill. So see how that shrunk right there? Now it's shrunk, and now I can simply just set remove overlays to false, hit save, and now I run it. And now notice the borders will get built around that shrunken image, because I've literally built it and shrunk it in the template that the overlay was built from. So you'll notice that King of the Hill will be perfect. Look at that. Now it's not shrunken. So again, no shrinkage there. So that's kind of what the scripts do. Notice again, below deck is another example where it's, you know, it's kind of coming to the edge of that border there. I don't mind it, but I think it's like one of those things, like if you don't see it, you don't really know, but now that you know, you might hate me for it. But just wanted to show you guys that there's a quick way to do it, and you could do it this way, or you can certainly use Plex Poster Maker, and in the and you can look it up. This is the FS Corrupt repo, Plex poster maker. And you can definitely have it do it for you with a few little things, but then you can't choose which poster to use, which just kind of sucks because I like to choose which posters I can use for my stuff. And that's it, guys. This has been a very quick video on overlays, kind of overlay order, kind of how to kind of go about creating a very simple overlay for TV shows in the style of MM2K that everyone in the community refers to. I don't mind it for TV shows. In fact, I love it for TV shows. I just don't want it on every single freaking thing. And I still want original text logos from posters. I don't want to put my own font. It just all looks like the same movie or TV show. So anyways, guys, hope this video helped. See you on the next one.